We know that play is extremely important for childhood development, helping them develop creative, cognitive, emotional, and other skills. But play benefits our well-being and creativity throughout our entire lives, and not just for the individual. Organizations that encourage playful working have higher motivation and satisfaction scores and greater retention. But what makes a playful workplace? How do we define play in a work context? How does the Lego Group support playful working? We're going to dive into these questions and more as I chat with some colleagues who are on the front lines of playful working. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Live Behind the Bricks, coming at you today, as always, from sunny Billund, Denmark. I'm super excited to see so many of you online today. I'm going to give a special shout out to Chadwick Groh, who was the first one to mention that he was on the call. So I hope he's joined us at this point. And some of you are watching from wherever. You might be in a different time zone, and if you're not able to join us, we hope that you see the replay. So a warm Lego welcome to everyone who is out there wherever you're tuning in from. Today we're meeting a group of colleagues whose business it is to play, and I'm going to be asking a lot of questions to find out what it is that they do, how they do it, and how they apply play to their everyday work. Not all the questions are for me, though. You can ask questions too. You can put them in the chat. You can put them in the little rectangular box there with the question mark. That's for the Q&A. If you put it in the chat, the producers will try to shuttle them over to me, and we'll try to get as many questions addressed as we can. If we miss your question, don't worry. We can always come back into the chat. Chances are either the producers or some of the guests will be able to answer the question, any of the ones that we missed. So let's get started now. Through the magic of modern podcasting technology, my amazing Lego colleagues. Something's wrong. It's the last episode to this season. I can't speak. All right, magic of modern podcasting technology. My amazing Lego colleagues will now join the screen. All right. Thanks for joining. I'd love to take a round and introduce each of you. Well, I'll have you introduce yourselves, and so maybe say where it is that you're from and what your job function is, and then hand it off to the next one. You at home, if you also want to type in and tell us where you're joining us from, that would be great. We'll see that pop up in the chat. Let's start at the bottom with Pietro.
Hello, I'm Pietro. I work as a strategic planner in the employee play engagement team, and I come from Italy.
Welcome, Pietro. Ginny?
Hi, I'm Ginny. I am from Singapore, where it's sunny, very much different from Billund. And I am the program owner for Playday on the employee play engagement team as well. Over to you. Yeah?
Love that. Hi, everyone. My name is Timothy Arnsbach. I'm from Copenhagen, and I head up our global workplace experience team. Roberta?
Hi, my name is Roberta. I work as a concept lead in our product and marketing development department, and I'm from Italy. And I'll pass it over to Per.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Per Haugaard, and I'm a local boy from Billund, Denmark. I work in the Lego Foundation in our Knowledge Center. And I'm going to hand this over to Mads.
Hello, I'm Mads. Thank you for having me today. I think I have the most cool job title here. I'm a senior learning group play manager. How about that? And I work in the employee play engagement team here in Billund, Denmark, where I also live.
Fantastic. Welcome to you all. I'm also going to introduce myself in episode because I'm also part of employee play engagement, and part of my job is learning through play. My name is Jake, as you know, and I am the creative lead for learning through play. So a lot of the people who are joining today are colleagues that I'm working with on a regular basis. Okay, I just want to kick this off by talking about why we think that play is so important. And I'm not going to call out. I'm going to let you guys decide who's going to start with that one. Oh my
Play is
goodness.
important because when we play, we learn, we grow, we thrive, and play is our brain's favorite way to learn and to work also. And through like our personal experience, professional experience, from the research we've done, we also see there are also scientific proof, many articles around the benefits of playing also as adults and in the workplace. And this is what we are trying to do. And the Lego Group making the Lego Group a playful place to work for all.
So play is not just for kids. Okay.
No, I could pick up on what Pietro said. As I'm looking down into the research, we see that when we are curious and playful in the workplace, we experience less stressed, we are more energized, and we're actually also more efficient. And it's not only like it benefits our well-being, our adaptability, our productivity, but it also increases our commitment to the organization's purpose and the social support for other people around us. So why not?
Yeah.
I really have to jump in here because I think we are in a company that is all about play. So play is super important for us. Play is super important for us to understand as employees. It's and part of understanding that as an employee, you have to practice it. So there's something very natural for us to engage in play and understand play as employees at the Lego Group.
Yeah.
If
So
I can also add, oh, sorry.
yeah.
Dave.
No, go Tim.
I think one thing that's really important also in our organization is creating psychological safety, right? So that's the space that allows us to really kind of grow and challenge each other and iterate together. And to have that psychological safety, you also need to have play. It's a really great way to bring people together and create that environment that allows you to speak up if you see something.
Mhm.
The act of playing is actually changing the environment that we are working in.
Exactly.
Excellent. And I'm glad that you brought it up because it is your area of expertise on the areas that we are working in. So how do we bring play into those areas?
So, I mean, there are so many different ways, and I think everyone on this call have their different ways into that. When we look at physical spaces, there's obviously the design of those spaces, right? To make them fun and playful, and our workplace design team does a really amazing job at that. You're constantly surrounded by Lego bricks as well, which is something that makes it really easy to engage with play, just like in your case there. But also, it's really important that we have spaces that are not just about Lego play. We have a lot of incredibly creative colleagues who are able to pick up Lego bricks and do amazing things with them. But we're also sometimes experiencing that some people can find it a bit daunting because some people are so great at it. So we also want to create other places that invite people to play, maybe by providing a lower threshold. So for instance, when you're here at Lego Campus in our headquarters, you have a mini golf course, you have a creative studio, but you also have a training kitchen where you can cook food together and have fun and play together while chopping up onions.
I have cooked in that studio. I love
And
it.
isn't it fun?
Really a playful place to spend some time with your team. I want to talk a little bit about space. Of course, that's one way that we're bringing play in, but I also want to talk about colleague to colleague. What are some of the ways that we're bringing play to each other or encouraging play amongst our colleagues?
I can maybe jump in here, Jake. Like I like to start when we develop new products. We have, of course, many brainstorms, and I always like to start the brainstorms with a little fun activity that usually is loosely related to what we're going to talk about. And again, like we have so many resources to do so, even also on our learningthroughplay.com website, to have like these joyful moments. Sometimes it's just like done with Post-its or just running around the office trying to find these kind of like little moments of play. That kind of like creates this kind of playful mindset as well, because no matter, even though like it plays our job, we do need the inspiration as well as Lego designers. So kickstarting this like brainstorms with just like a 5-minute activity that has really nothing to do with bricks sometimes is a really fun way to kind of like boost up the energy for the brainstorms.
So you're integrating play into your work, your actual
Absolutely.
day-to-day work.
Absolutely.
Per, maybe you might want to tip in here, because I know that you've been doing some work even outside of the Lego group and outside of the Lego Foundation on play and work and how those two are related.
Yeah, together with the municipality that we are in, we've been running a project called Playful Working, where they have been investigating how do they become playful while doing their jobs at best, and looking at all different angles of this. Kind of, what can you do as an employee? What are leaders could they do to support you to become playful while working? And here I think there's an important distinction to make between the activity to play and to the state of mind to be playful. And we could actually become playful in many different situations that does not look like a play activity, but actually you are becoming playful while chopping the onion, as Timothy said. If we looked at that from the outside, we would not say that these guys are actually playing, but actually it could be really, really playful. If you're chopping the onion in a new, exciting way you never tried before, you're really experimenting and you're doing all of that. So yes, together with Billund Municipality, we have for a few years been exploring this. How could they establish a playful culture where they get all the benefits that we talked about earlier?
What you talked about, you might not be looking from the outside. You might not see that these people are playing. How do we know? How do we know if somebody is being playful?
That's a tricky question, Jake, but we have the answer for that. And
I know
it's Per's field, but I can jump into this. So in the Lego Foundation, but also in the Lego Group, we have developed a framework at least to understand better when an experience could be considered a playful learning experience. When there is play into an experience, there is a list of 5 characteristics that make an experience a playful experience. And these characteristics, and guys, if you're up for this, we could mention 1 characteristic per person. And yeah, there is a 6th person will come up with something new. So a first characteristic of a learning through play, of a playful experience, is it is actively engaging. So you're into the moment, you're focused. There's nothing else. You're just into the moment. You're in the flow.
Oh, I could go next. It's iterative. So you're building, everyone is engaging, and you're building upon each other's input and building together.
An important one is that it is joyful, often playful. Being connected to being joyful, because we gain so much motivation from experiencing joy, and it gives us energy to do it again and again and practice, and maybe go back to being iterative, as Tim said.
It's meaningful as well, because then I find, there's some purpose behind it. So it brings joy from the meaning and all of that.
And of course, a good experience needs to be shared with others. So it is also socially interactive. So the relationship with others is what also can spark the play.
And maybe I could round it up then. Thank you so much. This is amazing that it's actually really tricky sometimes to remember what 5 of them are. But that's correct. We have together been working with these characteristics of a playful experience for quite some time, and on a level of children, we have been using it quite a lot, of trying to figure out what does make children playful. And during the playful working projects, and we have adapted this framework that actually allows us to look at someone and then kind of make good guesses. Are they playful now, or are they not playful now? And you could consider, if you were looking at another adult person doing something, what would you be looking for? Would you be looking for smiles? Would you be looking for deep engagement or heated discussions? Or what are the things? We have an indicator map that allows us to give us signs of if they are. It's much easier, of course, to go talk to them, because then we get, I would say, a much deeper understanding of how do they actually feel in what happened. A really good indicator is often that you lose track of time. So that time when your coffee gets cold when you are working, or that time when wow, I need to get home, or those things, they are like super strong indicators that you were just there, you were present to a whole different level where you were actually playful doing whatever you were doing.
I want to touch on a few of these questions here. I'm seeing some really interesting questions popping up in the chat, and I don't know that we can necessarily answer, but I want us to try and tackle it. So the first one that strikes me here is, how do you remove the fear of being playful in a workplace? And what do we do at the Lego Group to help remove that fear?
I think there's a lot of things we do at the Lego Group. I think from the moment when people enter here, when they are being onboarded, they are being presented with this concept of learning through play. What do we mean by learning through play? And so new colleagues need this early on. We also offer a range of activities for colleagues to engage with in order to become wiser on what does play mean and how can I practice it at home with my friends and my family, etc. And I think, as Tim also alluded to in the beginning, walking in, especially here now in Billund in the headquarters, you can't help think about play and be a little bit playful when you meet this space, and hopefully there'll be much more to come in the coming years on the other Lego sites. But I think there's many different angles where you will see and experience play. So hopefully that will help dismantle if there is fear. So I see it in many ways. I don't know if you can add to that.
I think. Oh, sorry. You go, Pietro.
Thank you, Tim. No, just there are three things, like three special ingredients to make play thrive in a workplace context, which is giving time, space, and permission to play. So allowing, time, specific time. It could be during the meeting, after a meeting, for a team of site, in different occasions. And this is also up to the people leader to allow time for play, space for play, and team, that's your field. And you already mentioned some of the things that we do at the Lego Group. And permission. And permission it connects to like the culture of the company, being not too hierarchical, but when you play in a play field, in a playground, we're all the same, we're at the same level, and you are not afraid to risk, to expose yourself, to fail. And that's the beauty of learning to play, that you risk, you fail, but then you just build again and retry and iterate. So this kind of culture of we're all on the same page, we're play, this is a safe space. And when you feel safe to try yourself, to challenge yourself, you're able to play and express all your creativity.
We talked about you mentioned the permission to play, right? We go a little bit beyond permission to play here at the Lego Group. It's actively encouraged, right? And you talked also, Tim, about the space, and Pietros mentioned safe space, and Mads, you talked about inspiring colleagues to play. And I want to combine those three things and talk to Ginny and hear a little bit about one of the ways that we at the Lego Group encourage play and help to inspire through that example.
Thank you, Jake. And then I guess before I jump into that topic as well, to talk about what Pietros mentioned and what Tim is doing for his work, for me, the one thing, when I first joined the Lego Group, the one thing that gave me the space and permission when I stepped into the meeting room was bricks. Bricks in every meeting room. That was permission and space both combined. And yeah, that's kind of really what made it so special. But yeah, so sorry, Matt, but I think I have the best job title because my title involves Play Day, the words Play Day. So I'm the global owner, program owner for Play Day. And Play Day, for those who are not familiar with it, it's actually an annual event, one day a year where we dedicate a work day to play. So what we actually do is all colleagues from all around the world, factories, offices, Lego brand retail stores, we set aside that one day to play because it is so important to us. It is kind of like our step into, if we want to create a global force for learning through play, what does that mean? We get everybody playing. So my role is to create a one day where all of our colleagues remember they experience play together with their teams, or the ability to meet other people on site, because every office, we've got so many people. It's a chance for us to interact with people we might not necessarily work with. That's bringing up the social side of us. but being able to play with everyone, I think that's kind of like the joy and the permission. I think if you go down that route, right, the leadership is putting aside time for us. The leadership is putting aside the budget for us just to do this. The fact that we have a program like that is amazing.
Yeah. So
Can I add to that, Jake?
Yeah, please do.
Oh, sorry. I think the other thing I love about that is also that the leadership actively participates in Playday, and you see them not just kind of on stage, kind of facilitating and doing great things, but also being in those play activities themselves and spending the whole day together with their teams, which I really love. And I think the other thing around permission is the importance of role modeling. And I think that's something I'm really proud of. I see a lot in the Lego group. I remember one of my first memories was seeing a year-end video from our factory in Mexico, which is our biggest factory. And it was a Christmas elf that was showing you around the factory and then telling about what they'd done that year. It was really fun. And it was only when I got really close to the screen that I was like, isn't that our general manager, Nancy? And I was like, that's amazing that she like jumps in a Christmas elf outfit and takes us on a tour. And the same this summer when our CEO did the half-year greeting, it was also, he ended that by playing mini golf, right? So there's just like so many examples of where leadership really kind of takes an active role in role modeling play in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, role modeling that behavior is super, super important. I saw another question in here, and I'm not sure, and we don't, if we can't answer it, we can't answer it. But this is one I think maybe is critical, because I know that it's something that we think about. It starts off to say, how do we avoid being too playful? But then it goes on to say, as a neurodivergent person, I don't want to go overboard. So is there a limit? Are we, when are we being too playful? Do we know? And how do we rein that in?
Now I can jump in. It's a very good question. And what we're trying to do also is to cater playful experiences to different needs and to different personalities. We have done some research around our colleagues. There are people who are more like fun-driven, more willing to socialize. Others want to connect play with having a goal, or they believe in the strong power of play. And there are people who are feel a little bit disconnected to play. Sometimes they could feel, oh, it's too childish, or this is just a workplace. And so we also try to give them space to just be themselves. And one of the golden rules for playing is so if you're forced to play, you're not enjoying play. So also give space and time not to play, not only for playing, and also, for example, for play day, we are considering spaces and the areas of play day for people just to sit and relax, having a chat. If they want to play, they're encouraged, and they can get support. But if they don't want to play, they can just sit, have a cup of tea, have a great talk with their colleagues. And you can play in many different ways.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just as much, you get just as much out of play by seeing other people experience it. Yeah. Per, you were going to say something, I think.
Yeah, I was. It's being playful is super subjective, right? So what makes you playful? And if you and I doing something together, then it would maybe make me playful and make you uncomfortable. So that's when we look at children, you would always see that constant negotiation going on when they are playing. If the play kind of breaks down, they would stop, they would talk, they would renegotiate the rules, and they would get back into the play. And I would say the same goes here, that we are different, and we are super inclusive to everyone. And of course, we should negotiate the play and figure out what works for you, what works for me, and how do we then tap into the play afterwards, that kind of. And I think that's, children are our role model in that as well, and we should just, of course, make sure to do that.
Nice. I'm so glad that you said, Per, that children are our role models. I actually want to dive a little bit more into that, because Roberta, you're in our design team, and you're creating things specifically for children, for our role models. Could you talk a little bit about how learning through play sort of informs that process, or how does it come into the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So in my role, I work as a concept lead, meaning that I work in the very early phase of our product development. So I have the privilege and also the honor to play a lot with children, and that being my job. And I can tell you that the most amazing experience that we have created are the ones that we co-create with children, that really truly are the ones that tell us this is not fun. Hey, you grown up, this is not cool. And it's so amazing because sometimes like they give us so many like different points of view of just like rethinking the experience entirely by just saying like, oh, you know what, that's right, that wasn't quite right. And it's amazing to see how like, even though like our job is being toy designers, and again like all the professional designers, there's still insights that we can learn from children and that we implement in our products. So again, like it's when we say that children are role models, it's really we mean it, and we learn so much from them, especially in the early stages of the concept, where it's so important to kind of like get direct feedback from children.
I wonder, does it work the other way around? So, you know, we're designing things, you're talking with children, you're co-designing, you're creating these play experiences. Do you sometimes see the way that children are playing and then bring that play experience back into the group?
But 100%, absolutely, especially when we see like that there are some like few tricks, and again like it's also interesting how like different age groups react in different ways. So we always need to be mindful of the stage of the development of the child as well as like play preferences. There's so many factors that really influence play, and when we say like there's so many different ways to play as well, but we certainly learn from children and bring back the learnings into our projects. And sometimes the actual play experience changes after we've played with children, because like we take so much from them.
Mm-hmm. And Mads, you are also kind of developing play experiences as well, but you're developing play experiences with our colleagues in mind.
Yeah. So it's right. I'm leading a stream where we want to look at how we integrate more play into our daily work, which is super interesting. So if we go back and look at the play characteristics once again, so being joyful, experiences meaningful, being actively engaged, iterative, and socially interactive. What does that look like, and how does that show up in our daily work? So the aim is to seek more of those situations where we experience these play characteristics. It's not something we have to do all the time and say to every day I have to hit on all of those 5 characteristics, but we want to seek more of those characteristics because then we believe we are experiencing being more playful in our daily work. And we are looking at what we do every day, so our daily tasks. And that can, of course, be different for colleagues in a factory versus folks in a retail store or people in the office. So we're trying to support them in different ways in how to first of all grow that understanding, but also see a lot of the great examples of playful work that already happens. But also develop new activities so they can embed that into meetings or into people processes, or maybe we can model something and be part of inspiring them. So we're trying to tap into systems that exist in the Lego group. We're trying to hopefully give them tools so they can change behavior, and we're trying to offer play in action, so examples where we would model different ways to integrate more play into daily work. So yeah, super exciting, and much more to come on this topic in the future. Yeah.
You mentioned meetings in there when you were talking about the kinds of things that you develop, the activities that are specific for meetings. There was a question here in the chat. I'm just going to pop it up, but maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the things that we do to make, it says boring meetings. I think that, you know, maybe a little bit subjective, but meetings more playful, I will say.
Yeah. I can give an example. One of my favorite ones, and please chip in the rest of the gang here. One of my favorites, and I think about how can you make meetings more playful? I think it's about engaging. If you see engagement in a meeting, that means you are invested and you are passionate. So we often use the tool of having bricks available, as Jeannie mentioned, in our meeting rooms. If we have a topic, a question that we want to answer, we take bricks and we build a solution individually while we reflect, and then we share about our builds which makes it playful because we are using bricks and other ways to represent our ideas and our thoughts, and we get a chance to share all of us, so we are all contributing, participating. I think it's a super powerful tool to convert something we know from children we are building with bricks into actually facilitating a dialogue or discussion.
Mm-hmm. And we've actually done some work in creating different tools that that our colleagues can use, whether it's through meetings or whatever. Per, I saw that you had one in the room with you earlier. You shared with us. Yeah, so this is a meeting kit, and Tim, I know that Tim's been part of getting this into the different rooms on campus as a pilot test. Yeah, maybe we can just talk about the tool. I see Pietro is also. Yeah, go ahead.
Building up also on what Matt said before. So there are different ways how you can make it. You can make a meeting more playful, and you can integrate play at different levels. You can just add some playful exercises. So something just to energize at the beginning, in the middle, whatever, as a break. Second step, it's when you do meaningful, playful exercises that are connected to the task, to the purpose of the meeting. So I don't know, there is a hard nut to crack. You have to just turn into an open mode for creative brainstorming. And there are some playful exercises that could help develop that kind of open mind. And third, the final step is like making a whole playful experience. And in that case, it comes also out of practice, but it derives again from the 5 characteristics that we mentioned at the beginning. So when you just develop a meeting, a workshop, think of the 5 characteristics and try to understand if you're embedding different elements that make it actively engaging, social interactive, iterative, meaningful, and joyful.
I thought you were waving at first.
And I can say an extension of that. Someone was mentioning earlier on that no one likes forced fun or forced play, but there are situations where, for instance, if you have a longer meeting, people can tend to go into a bit of a rabbit hole or a group thing, and they don't actually realize that that the conversation isn't necessarily going anywhere. So those are points where it's really healthy to actually bring in a little bit of energy, and Pietro mentioned this as well. So the Energizer toolkit that Pierre just shared is a really low-hanging fruit that you can just pull out that kind of 45-minute into a meeting, especially after a lunch break. That's the magic trick. After a lunch break, make sure you have an Energizer, because otherwise everyone just goes, yeah, that's fine, because they're just a little bit tired. So that's an easy way to pull one of those out.
Super. Looking in the time, we're a little bit more than halfway through. I actually want to touch on how we came to be in the roles that we're in and what our journey was like. So all of you have advanced degrees in play, right? Not exactly, but I think a lot of people who are watching this might want to know, if I'm interested in developing play, if I'm interested in having a role in an organization like the Lego Group where I can help bring my colleagues more play, how do I get there?
Well, I can share where I started. I started as a teacher. I was a teacher for 14 years before joining the Lego Group 12 years ago. So my background is from a classroom experience and igniting playful learning in a classroom. But then I moved to Lego Education and started creating a playful learning experience for children and training teachers and engaging with teachers. So I think my background has helped me a lot in identifying these characteristics and seeking those moments that are where the learning really happens. So yeah, that's definitely a good step to do. I would advocate for teaching as a background. That's always great. I know more than that maybe. I'm pointing this way, and that's Pierre to me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would say it's it's our natural state. I would say we don't need to teach children to play, and we are all inside us. We are all still 5 years old somewhere. Like, and I think we should be really curious of when are we playful in our daily. What are you doing when you are playful? What do you really enjoy? What do you want to come back to? What don't they even have to pay you to do? What are those activities, those situations? And think about, is there anything, where are they in my job as well? Because they are there as well. There are these star moments in a week where kind of you drove home and you were smiling because, oh, it was such a good day. Or I just had that talk with my colleague and it was just like, yes, those moments, and really zoom in on what was that made that moment magic and how could we do more of that. Sometimes it's small tweaks that we need to do. The meetings we just talked about. Sometimes it's about maybe the meeting leader like pulls out the agenda on the table and kind of say, which one of these topics do you think are the most important? And should we just do the agenda together? And it's like little small tweaks. We're still doing a meeting. We're still talking about the things we should be talking about, but we could just tweak a few things and become playful. So I don't think it's that hard to get started. Just find out where are your own playfulness.
Mm-hmm. We have one of the sort of interesting parts of our culture right now is our way of working. Right, so we're working in a best of both scenario. So a lot of the folks in the Lego group who are working in the offices, they're working a few days off-site and a few days on-site. Tim, you want to talk about how play comes into that? How we sort of set up the space for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you say, Jake, we have a best of both model, and as part of that, we are in the office a couple of days, on average 3 days a week, and we want to make sure that people really get the most out of that time, and that they really feel that the in-person or in-office experience really adds value to them. So we really encourage our colleagues to create team rituals that are, of course, around things like team huddles and brainstormings, having particular days where the team is together so that you know that you're around not just your immediate team, but maybe also other project teams that you work with, and have particular days that you might want to do that. And then we want to make sure that they're as playful as they can be, because really that's quite difficult. And I know that a lot of you are working on replicating that digitally, but it is a lot easier. And I personally think a lot more awesome in space together. So what are those kind of rituals and play activities that you can do together as a team to really build your relationships and build communities when you're in the office, so that when you're working remotely, you already have those relationships and everything works much more smoothly.
And I guess we also try to give suggestions and develop suggestions for how you can do that when you're not in the office.
Yeah, I think sharing. So we have a library of play activities that colleagues can go and utilize. There's more than 100 activities that you can review, and you can take the ones that you like, and they can be they can be working for in-person activities. They can also be working for a hybrid setting. So by giving opportunities and sharing ideas, it's also part of inspiring colleagues to embed, to implement, to do more in their daily work. So that is a growing resource that we are working on.
We have that resource within the Lego group, and it's an internal resource. It's called playyourpart.com. But externally, if you're interested in seeing what some of those activities might be like and how you can use them at home or in your community, the Lego Foundation also has a site. Per, can you remind me the URL for that?
Yeah, learningthroughplay.com.
Learningthroughplay.com. Thank you.
And it's in the section Let's Play. Sorry, I use it all the time. That's why I have it on top of mind, because and you can select by time and how much time you have, which time materials you have. So it's a great resource for inspiration for these energizing activities.
You know, I'm reflecting on every time I tell someone that I work for the Lego group, the very first thing they ask me is, so do you just play all the time? And, you know, that's true to certain degrees. And in doing this podcast, I met a lot of different colleagues and I tried to ask that question. So do we just play all of the time? Most of the cases, the answer is, well, not really, because yeah, we might be playful or we might be, doing play. But I think with this group, that is actually true. I think that everybody in here is actually playing all the time.
or being playful.
Or being
Playing or
playful.
being playful.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's one line that I would like to mention, and I'm just unraveling a secret of Jake's, but it's a secret that I really like. It's the signature of his mails is blurring the line between work and play.
Mhm.
And this is it's not a destination point. It's just a journey, and you learn how to blur that line, how to make your everyday at work more playful, and to really it's up to you then to make it playful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake.
No, that's great. Journey point, you said, Pietro, which makes me ask about your journey. You didn't start as a teacher or a play pedagogue. How did you come into the Lego Group?
I started working in advertising agencies and communication. And my job was mainly about understanding consumers, their needs, their expectations, the barriers to buy a product or a brand. And I'm just using this past expertise for the Lego employees. So now my role is about understanding Lego employees, what drives their behaviors, how can they be more playful, what kind of benefit they can get out of play. So it's easy also if you have, and I'm talking also to the audience, if you have past experiences, just to move this past experience into the Lego workplace and use it in a different context for a different purpose. And so there are so many different ways that your past experience is valuable for the company.
Mm-hmm. You came from agency world. Ginny and Roberta, you also have some agency experience, right?
I did have some agency experience, but actually when I first started in the Lego Group, it was in Singapore for APAC, and it's for social impact, so bringing play to the communities. So that's also one thing that we really emphasize a lot within the Lego Group, right? So that's where I started for 5 years before I moved to Denmark and took on this role. But advertising agencies and events, so I created play, I guess, for adults, and now I continue it in a different way, also for adults. So that's kind of like transferable skills. So that's also where you could look at, what skills do you have in your career that it's transferable, it's an area that you're really keen about, explore that, and just look at one specific space, right? Look at how you can move from left to right a little. Roberta.
For myself, I have always been in visual design, so I have background as graphic design. And I was working initially, before working at the Lego Group, I was working at a different type of agency, the European Space Agency, which is really different type of agency. Then to join and still developing visuals and communication for scientific purposes. But then joined the Lego Group, and again, it was fun because when I actually joined, there was such a close relationship between space and Lego, and everybody was just like, "Oh my God, space!" And at the space agency, everybody was like, "Oh my God, the Lego!" so there are fans from each sides, and I worked for 10 years in our internal agency, developing communications and visuals. And then I had the privilege to work with Per at the Lego Foundation, really diving into why play matters. And now I am back into the commercial side, but really applying all the great learnings into the products and really fully exploiting the fact that bringing more play for children, and which is both an honor and a responsibility that I take very seriously. So even though in a playful way, seriously playful. So a long journey, but again, still with this kind of link of play in between.
Nice. Tim, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to come in to the Lego Group in maybe even in a capacity, of course?
Yeah, so I think my journey is a little bit different. I come from a social science background, and I work in workplace consultancy for many years. And a bit like Roberta, I feel like that experience, there were so many people who wanted more of that fun and playfulness and innovation and creativity into their workplaces. So I'm so excited that I get to work in a place where that is just part of our DNA, right? So it's part of our values and our culture, but it's also something that we're actively working to kind of recreate every day for our colleagues. So that's a slightly different way, but everyone in the workplace team really tries to look at exactly how we bring that Lego play that's part of our DNA into our everyday experience.
We are unfortunately out of time, and I have to say that this is the fastest episode I think that I have done, and it must be because we were actively engaged. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I want to say that's a wrap on season 1. I hope that you enjoyed watching live Behind the Bricks and getting an inside look at what we're doing here at the Lego Group. Look out for more episodes that are coming up next year. If you've missed any of the other 6 episodes, you can replay by visiting our website. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.